So on behalf of the 1922 committee, Charles Walker and I, as returning officers for the election of the leader of the Conservative and Unionist Party, can now declare the results of the fifth ballot. The total number of votes cast in today's ballot was 313. The total number of ballot papers rejected was 1. The total number of votes given to each candidate were as follows: Michael Gove, 75. Jeremy Hunt, 77. Boris Johnson, 160. We therefore declare that Jeremy Hunt and Boris Johnson are going forward to a vote of the qualifying membership of the Conservative and Unionist Party. Thank you very much.
Well, there you are. That's Dame Cheryl Gillen of the 1922 committee announcing the result of that final ballot of MPs, the fifth and final ballot. Those are the two names then that go forward to the wider Conservative Party membership: Jeremy Hunt, the Foreign Secretary, and Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson on 160. He's edged up his support with every round, and Jeremy Hunt, 77, just 2 votes ahead of Michael Gove. If it had been Michael Gove, there were people worried, as we've been discussing, that that would have been a revival of the so-called psychodrama between Mr. Gove and Mr. Johnson from 3 years ago, but that's not going to happen. It's going to be Jeremy Hunt, who originally was a Remainer, and Boris Johnson, of course, so prominent in the Leave campaign. Let's go back to my guests here in the studio. Joey Jones, former advisor to Theresa May, and Laura Trott, former political advisor to David Cameron. What do you make of that? It's going to be quite a contest, isn't it? And interesting.
It is. It's a huge thing for Jeremy Hunt. And
you surprised he made it?
Well, I know I have bragging rights round the table. I predicted it 10 minutes ago.
Well, you weren't sure.
It was very, very tight. I think that, to be fair, a couple of days ago I felt that he had stalled, and he has shown. He's been solid, steely, resilient. And this, for him and for Boris Johnson, is the biggest thing that they will ever have encountered in their political life. I mean, the step up that is expected of them, a magnitude, a whole series of magnitudes, the pursuit, the scrutiny, the media circus, the harrying, the whole lot, and the expectation that they can come up with a vision for the country and a credible personality for leadership. I mean, it's going to be a massive step up for.
It's been so tight between Jeremy Hunt and Michael Gove, especially in the last couple of rounds, hasn't it? Just a couple of votes between them.
It really has, and they've been kind of neck and neck. And the fact that Jeremy's just edged it, does show that the breadth of quality of people, I think, in the party. And it's going to be a really interesting race as we go through. I think, as I said before, it is less likely that Jeremy will win versus Boris, but Boris was always going to be the runaway favourite. But we've got a huge contest coming up. We've hustings, 12, 13 hustings to go now, which are going to be publicised. So there's going to be a massive amount of scrutiny on both people.
Do you think in that television debate, the BBC one, Jeremy Hunt was viewed by quite a lot of observers as having done quite well, actually?
Yes.
Would that have had any influence, do you think, on the views of MPs?
It might have done. Look, I think there's a possibility that, and one shouldn't discount the fact that there might be some sour grapes and some questions over who's voted and why over the next couple of hours. So we'll wait and see whether on the losing side, Michael Gove's team might point some fingers. But let's assume that we're going now ahead and turning a page and a straight fight between the two of them. Jeremy Hunt's big advantage is that everybody's got an opinion about Boris Johnson and actually about Michael Gove as well. Nobody's got an opinion about Jeremy Hunt. Nobody's made up their mind on amongst the Conservative members as well. Extraordinary for someone who's been around for such a long time, still does feel like an unknown quantity, and that's a big advantage.
He's been in the cabinet continuously since 2010. He's been the only minister to have done so, and yet his name recognition is very, very low. So he does, as Joey says, have an opportunity to really stamp himself on this contest.
And we know the history of Tory party leadership contests is that sometimes the outsider does pretty well.
Absolutely.
Laura Trott and Joey Jones, for the moment, thank you very much indeed. Let's get reaction.